Dr. Heilige Gemara, we're on Daf Tzadik Zayin Amud Aleph. Tonu Rabban, Shavua Sheben David Baboy, the series of 7 years, the Shemitah cycle that Ben David is going to come in, Shana Rishona, the first year, Miskai Mikrazeh. The following pasuk describes what the situation will be. Some cities will have food, some won't. Some will have rain, some won't. Shnia, the second year, Chitzei Rav Mishtalchim. Now there's starting to be already a level of hunger because food will become scarce. Shlishis, the third year, is where it reaches the apex. Rav Gadol will be a severe hunger. Umeisim Anoshim Venoshim Vetaf Chasidim Anshemaisa. And since there's no food, the Torah Mishtakechas Milamda, Torah will be forgotten from those who learn it. Mipnei Rashi Miptoich Shein Malechel. They don't have any food. Boravias on the fourth year, it starts to get a little bit better. There'll be food, but not a lot. There'll be satisfaction. There'll be plenty of food, and therefore and people once again will be able to learn Torah. B'shishis, there'll be koilos. What type of koilos? So Rashi has two pshatim. Either yetzu koilos sheben David ba. There'll be rumors. People are saying, "Oh, Mashiach kum train," or it'll be koil shofar, like it says, you talk about b'shofar gadol. B'shvius milchamos, that's when there'll be big milchamos bein oivdei kechavim Yisrael, between the goyim and the Yidden. And b'motzai sheyis, on year 8, ben David ba, that's when Mashiach will come. Rabbi Yosy, how could that be? How kama shvius, the Hava came? There were many years where we had hunger, we had plenty, we had wars, and Mashiach has not come. Amar Abaye, b'shishis koilos, b'shvius milchamos, mi have it. Did we have hunger and then we would have koilos in the 6th year and milchamos in the 7th year? That we didn't have. We may have had better years and worse years, hunger, famine, but we didn't have the shishis koilos and shvius milchamos. B'yoid kisudin mi have. It can't just be these different features happening. It has to be in the order: the first year, the 2nd year, 3rd year, as listed here. That never happened, and therefore it's not a kasha why Mashiach didn't come. This line, Rashi says it doesn't really belong here. The Vilna Gaon takes it out, but Rashi says if it belongs here, it's trying to tell you a whole halacha. It says Asher charfu ayavech Hashem, your enemies cursed you. Asher charfu ikvos Mashiach, and Rashi says it's telling us that the ikvos Mashiach chutz beyaske, which is what the Gemara in Soita darshans. Tanya Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Dor Sheben David Baboy, the generation that Mashiach comes in, Beis Avad Yeh Liznus. The Bate Midrashim will become places where people get together to do znus. Rabbi Victor Miller explains the Beis Medrash itself, if there doesn't have a proper mechitza, and men could see the women, and therefore it could lead to improper things. That's what it means. The Bate Midrashim themselves are not going to maintain the high level tznius that they need to. Northern Israel will become Charev. Gavlon, and the area called Gavlon, Yesham, will become Shemema, will become desolate. V'anshe Gvul either means people who live near the border, or it means the Sanhedrin. Yosy earlier, they're going to go from city to city looking for aid. And no one's going to have Rachmanas in them. Not only that, people will disdain Chachmas HaChachamim. And people will be mos from Yurechet. And the head of the door will be like a dog. And there's many pshatim in what this means. One pshat is a kelev is a az. A kelev is a chutzpah animal. It always attacks you for food. So it maybe means the pnei door will be very chutzpah. The other pshat that's brought down, I believe it's brought down from the Chofetz Chaim, is that a dog is a very loyal pet. So then, B'shas Mashiach, it will be Pnei Ador K'Pnei HaKelev. The leaders will look like they're loyal, but they're really going to stab you in the back. Very typical of our politicians today. They tell you how much they're going to stop the carbon tax and they're going to help you, but they really have every intention of stabbing us. And via MS Naderis. And MS is going to become split up and lost. Nederis could be translated in two ways, which we'll see the Gemara is going to tell us. Shenemar b'tehi ha'emes nederis. The emes will become nederis. Break the Gemara. My b'tehi ha'emes nederis. Omer drei Rav melamed shenasus adorim v'ilechasla. You know how it'll come to be that Torah will be forgotten? Is because first there's not going to be a central bezin where everyone listens to that unifies Klal Yisrael. There'll be different minhagim that are going to proliferate, and through that, slowly but surely, the limud of Torah, the idea of Torah, is going to get vaguer and vaguer until learning is forgotten. Zokt Gemara, my visar meiram nishtayle. What is the pasuk? What does it mean that the pasuk when it says someone who goes away from Ra will be ridiculed? Anybody who is going to stay away from Yisurim, anyone who's going to be Erlich, is considered to be a fool. So people are going to say, look at that fanatic fool. So instead of people realizing the godless of someone who's Erlich, who's Yerushalayim, they're going to look at him like a radical and a fool. This describes the scenario that's going to occur Bisman Mashiach. The Victor Miller explains that Klal Yisrael has to hit rock bottom. Klal Yisrael has to hit rock bottom before they're going to before Mashiach and lead us to do a tshuva shalem. Because when you hit rock bottom, that prompts that Klal Yisrael should do tshuva, because there is no other hope for them. Zokta Helig Gemor Vater. Amarav. Mereish, at the beginning, Havamina, I used to think, Leka Kushta Ba'am. There is no honesty left in the world. Now, of course, people are honest sometimes. Honesty means one is never, ever, ever saying a lie. It's perfect honesty. And I felt that there is no honesty left in the world. Amar Liah Humir Abanon Rav Tavus Shemai. One of the Rabbanim, whose name was Rav Tavus, told me. But Amri La Rav Tavyumi Mishmei, or could be his name was Rav Tavyumi, the E Havayavli Kol Chaloli de Alma. Even if you would give him all the money in the world, Loy Hava Mishani B'Diburei, he would not be masking to say a lie. So Rav Tavyumi almost lived up to this. Zim Nechada, one time it happened. He came to a city. The name of the city was Kushta, which means MS, because in this city no one ever said a sheker. No one ever said a lie, and because of that, no one ever died young. Everyone always lived out their full life. And the Maharsha explains, it's Mida connected Mida. HaKadosh Baruch Hu determines how much a person will live before he's born, and persons of error sometimes could make him lose years of his life. But if someone says the emes, so Mida connected Mida, Hashem is ma'ames his words and doesn't break that commitment that this is how long the person's going to live. So what happened was Nasibi Itzaminhoin, he married a woman from that city of Kushta. V'havali Tartan Benin Mina, and I had two sons with this woman. Yom Echad one day, Havayosha Devisi v'Kachai for Reisha. My wife was in the shower. Also, Shivasa, our neighbor came, her friend, Tarfadash, and knocked on the door. She wanted my wife. What am I going to say? My wife's not dressed, she's in the shower. It's TMI, right? TMI means too much information, right? So sover, it's not nice to say such a thing. So Amar La, Lesa Hacha, she's not here. My wife is out, she's not available. So what happened was the Shchivulei Tartin Benin. Two of his sons died. Why? Because he didn't say the emes. Now also in Shida Asra, the Kamei, and they said, hey, your children died young, there's a problem over here. What happened? Amrulay my high. What's going on? I did the right thing. Al tznius. Either al tznius, I did the right thing. You don't say my wife's in the shower. Or maybe if he would have just said, she doesn't want to speak to you now. She can't speak to you now. That could have caused that they should feel insulted and hurt, and that could lead to machlokes because she doesn't want to talk to them. So he was maybe he's Mishal. What's that?
There would be a lot of machlokes if everybody told the truth all the time.
So it's that's they say that's why the Rav, we wait for the Rav by MS and by Shalom, because he knows how to balance the two to know how to make it right. So what happened is Amrle, they told him, we beg you, Puk my Asrin, please leave our city. We don't want you to bring death to our city. So it doesn't say he died, it says his children died. Why? Because he didn't do anything wrong. He did the right thing. He had to be Mishan. That was the right thing to do. But Lamaisa, if you lose that Midas Emes, then people could die before their time. Tanya Reb Nahiroy Omer. Dar Sheben David Babai. The youth are going to be chutzpahdik, and they'll be mavayish, the elderly, and the zakenim will stand up for the old, for the young people. Ubas kamabima, a daughter will be chutzpahdik to her mother, the kala b'chamoisa, and the daughter-in-law to her mother-in-law. Ufnei adar kepnei kalab, and the face of the generation would look like a dog. I know some world leaders that look like dogs, like Kearney looks like a dog. Ve'ein haben misbayish me'aviv. Ve'ein haben misbayish me'aviv. A son won't even be embarrassed from his father of doing inappropriate things. Zog to Gemara, Tanya, we learned. Rabbi Nechemia Omer. Rabbi Nechemia said, Dor, the generation, Sheben David Baboy, Azus Tarba, there's going to be a lot of chutzpah, Va'yoker Ya'aves. Rashi has two pshatim. Either it means the respect and appreciation for others that will get corrupted, or it means the wonderful people, the tzaddikim are themselves are going to be corrupted. There'll be plenty of fruit around, but nevertheless, inflation will kill us by yain b'yoker. That sounds very familiar. V'nepcha leminos, v'nepcha kol hamalchus leminos, and the whole malchus is going to go bad. V'ein teichacha, and there's no musar. There's no one to give musar. The whole system is going to be corrupt. Zoktamar Messiah le Rabbi Tzchok. I think there's a comment before Messiah. Zoktamar Messiah le Rabbi Tzchok. Don't worry, I made exactly the same mistake this morning when I read the Gemara. This morning I slept in and I showed up at 6:40, so I didn't record in the mornings. I'm recording now. Messiah le Rabbi Tzchok. Ein ben David ba ad shet eshapech kol hamalchus leminos. Until it's completely corrupt. Amarav Maikra. If the whole body gets full of nega, then he's tahor. So Rabbi Victor Miller has a beautiful sefer. He gave shiurim on Perek Chelek, so there's a sefer about his commentary. And his dry, interesting humor of bringing things out. So it's a beautiful, beautiful sefer. And Danny Deanna was kind enough yesterday before he left the Lakewood, he actually bought me the sefer and got it delivered to my house. So it's two halakim. It's in English, him explaining the Gemara. It actually quotes the whole Gemara. You could learn it inside there. Doesn't have a true shaf, but it has the whole Gemara. So the Ravik Miller says it's like an addiction. Until you hit rock bottom, you're not gonna be mechazer yourself. Why? Because if someone's not gone so bad, he says, okay, I'm not so bad. I don't need tshuva yet. Look, I do this, I do that. But once everything's totally corrupted, there's no musr, meaning there's no hope to dig out of this. That's when it's going to lead to a tshuva shlema. And we're soon going to have, if you need tshuva in order to bring Mashiach. Tanarban. Ki yad Hashem amoy. When Hashem punishes his nation, ki yireh, he's going to see ki oslas yod. He gave up already, and they lost all their koyach. They're down in the dumps at the bottom of the barrel. It's called hit rock bottom. The efes otzer v'ozav. They're totally desolate. They have nothing. And we learn from there in Bedavid ba'at sheyirbu hamisayros until there'll be moisrim. There'll be moisrim, meaning people are going to be moiser on each other. Dover acher, ad sheyismaitu hatalmidim. There'll be very few talmidim. Dover acher, ad shetichla pruta minakis. Until there's no money left. The financial matziv in Klal Yisrael will be very, very bad.
No more pennies.
Mom is good. Mom is good. Yeah, you're saying good.
We haven't had pennies in years yet.
Yeah, but we're in this Mama Mashiach already. Dover acher, achi yisiyai shum nagula. Until I don't totally give it up from gula. Shnor ve'efes otzer v'osov. Kivayachol v'tzif ein soymech v'oishul l'Yisrael. About the Rebbe was always there for us, but that's how we're going to feel. Ki yadra b'zeira. Now it says we have to, in order for Mashiach to come, we have to totally give up on golos. So what about if you're a Lubavitcher and you want Mashiach every day? Is that hurting Mashiach? When you would encounter Rabbanim who are tumbling and discussing when Mashiach is going to come, Amalei told them, please, but I'm begging you, you're going to actually push, you're making goals longer, you're pushing off the Geula by talking about it. The Tanina, Gimel, Boin, Behesach Hadas, Velohein, Mashiach, Mitzia, you're not looking for Mitzia, you find it. And an Akrev strikes when you don't expect. So we're going to see that the problem is not to be Machaka to Mashiach, to Mashiach. The problem is when you're discussing when he's coming and you're creating deadlines. That's the problem. That pushes it off. But doesn't mean that we're not thinking about the Geula. It says, we have to. They asked you to be Geula. But the question is, are you discussing and making dates? And that's a very bad thing. We use Hashem. It's a very bad thing, because what happens if you make a date and say Mashiach can come this day, he doesn't? That could lead to a terrible rifkin. Amar Katina, Shilf Alpha Shni Hava Alma. The world is going to be there for 6,000 years. The Chat Chorv in 1,000 years, it's going to be Chorv. Remember, you learned that Tzaddikim who have Tkitza Mesim aren't going to die again. They're going to fly around for 1,000 years, and they won't get tired because there will be in-air refueling. That day 7, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to be by himself. Abai Omar, and it makes sense because Yom HaShabbos is the koyach for the whole week. So to give the energy to have a new world, to renovate the world, it's a year. It's the 7th year. That's right. Zok Gemara, Abai Omar, it's actually going to be 2,000 years for the renovations. Shenemar Yechayenu Mi'aymayim B'Yom HaShalishi Yikimenu Unchaya Lefanu.
This is Mashiach's not going to come till then, or this is
no. Mashiach come. The rebuilding of the world is after Mashiach comes.
This would be
Right. This is after Tkitza Mesim. Right. Mashiach comes to Tkitza Mesim, and then everybody dies for the rebuilding of the world. Tanya, Kavosei Rab Katina, Kishem Shashvius Mishametes. Shona achas lazayin shonim kacha oilu mishamet elov shonim l'shivas alofim shonim. So it's 1 year for the rebuild, the 7th year, which is not like a buy. It says 2 years. It's 1 year. Shneimar v'nizkav Hashem levadei b'yomahu v'yomer mizmer shir l'yom Shabbos yom shekulei Shabbos. It's 1 day, which is 1,000 years. V'yomer ki elov shonim beinecha ki yom esmo ki yavo. Tanav Elio. Sheishis Alpayim Shana have Alma, Shnei Alafim Toyu, which is like Abaye. Shnei Alpayim, I'm sorry, that's completely wrong. That's completely wrong. Because this is breaking down the 6,000 years. So Shnei Alpayim Toyu, the first 2,000 years was Toyu. Why? Because the Torah wasn't given until after the year 2000. Then Shnei Alpayim Toyu, then there'll be 2,000 years of Torah. We have Torah even past the year 4,000. But that's what it's called Shnei Alpayim Torah, and then Shnei Alpayim Moshe Mashiach, which we're waiting for Mashiach. Meaning, from the year 4000 was the earliest date that Mashiach could have come, and in every day it's a day that Mashiach could have come. I think it's kedai to do the mathematical calculation to see how this was that way. So let's have a look. It's not difficult. It's a shemak cheshbon. Alpayim Toyu. Now we all know that in the year 1948, that's one of the channels on Zoom. Akiva picked it. You know why Akiva picked it? Because that was the year Avraham Avinu was born. So that's very close to the 2,000 years. So the Torah was given, it's considered in Avram's days, not by Matan Torah and Har Sinai. So Rashi is going to break it down.
So Mashiach wouldn't have come the first 2,000 years.
Could not have come.
So
he could have only come after the year 4,000.
If Avram knew this, he would not have been hoping for Mashiach.
How do you know Avram was hoping for Mashiach?
No, I'm saying he wouldn't. I'm saying he wouldn't have been if he would know.
Yeah, we were in Golos then. The game didn't start yet, right?
Yeah. So
Alpayim Hoyu Soyu.
Alpayim means 2,000. So this was
that's right. Oh, I'm sorry. I love him. Okay, thank you for the first 2,000 years. Tachas loy shaloi nitna adai in Torah, since the Torah had not yet been given. That's why we consider the olam is like desolate. So let's do the cheshbon. When Adam Rishon Achaya Avram ben Nun Beishana, from the time that Adam Rishon came to the world until when Avram Avinu was 52 years, Ika Alpayim Shana. So we already know 1948 is when Avram was born, and 52 years later is the year 2000. So we already know this. But Rashi is bringing it around to, we have right from GZL. Kidamrinon Kroy, the Cheshanishmalu, Alafim Shana, or Alpayim Shana, Elsak Avram B'Torah. That's what Avram started being Ma'ishk B'Torah. So when we say Torah, we mean not in Torah, in Har Sinai. I mean that's when Avram started following the Torah. Shnemar Bes HaNefesh Asher also B'Chorah, he made him Bal Tshuva. What does that mean? That he brought them to the Torah. So that's where the first record of people following the Torah. We know that we know that when he was making Baal Tshuvas, he was 52 years old. So that means at 2,000 years was the era of Torah started. Ushnei alofim Torah. It says in the Nefesh also b'charon ad alofim is ad alofim shnois Mashiach until the 2,000 years from the year 4,000 and on that the shnois Mashiach started. We call that the years of Torah. Arboim Shana Achanoil Yitzchak. From when he was 52 till Yitzchak was born was 40 years. Which really it was 48 years, right? Arboim Shmoyne Shana, right? Because he was 100 when Yitzchak was born, so it's 48. So we're going to start counting the 2,000 years of the Torah. So there's 48 years. Yeah, I think so. 48 years till Yitzchak was born. V'shishim shana mishanoil Yitzchak achanoil Yaakov. And then there's 60. So 48 plus 60 is 108. Harei kovches, right? And then you have the 130 years that Yaakov had when he came to Mitzrayim. Because when he came to Mitzrayim, he was 130 years. So 108 plus 130 is 238. Then you have 210 years to Amdu Mitzrayim. So 238 plus 210 is 448. Very tough memches. U'mishayotim Mitzrayim achenivne bayis rishon was 480 years. So 248 plus so 448 plus 4 is 848, and 848 plus 80 is 1028, right?
928.
928. Okay. What 848 plus 400. The 448 plus 400 is 848, and 848 plus 80 is 928. Right. Hooray, tough, kuf kaf, which is 948. Then the chai. I'm sorry, the tough yud. Then another 410. 928. I'm sorry, 928. 928 plus 400 is 1328, and 10 is 1338, right? Sha'amid Bayis Rishon, because Bayis Rishon stood for 410 years. So we're at 1328. 30, I'm sorry, what? 1338. 1338 and 70 is 1408, right? But 1408 and the Tav Chaf, and then another 420 years. So where are we up to? 1808 and then 1828. Shon by Sheni, Harry Tav Tav Chaf is Alpayim Pachas Kufayim Beis. So 14. We're 1828. So 1828 plus 172 would be 2000. So we're missing 172 years. The Kuf Ayin Beis Koidem Ashlomish Dadal Alafim Nechrev Abayis. And 172 years before the year 4000 is when we have Churban Beis Hamikdash. Well, the Soif Oisin Kuf Ayin Beis, and after those 172, so 172 years after Churban Beis Sheni, Nishal Shnei Alafim of Torah. But really, Torah continues forever. We're just saying at the year 4000 now is already Shnei Mashiach, where Mashiach could have possibly arrived. And we're going to see, you know how we always say, oh, Mashiach to come here, Mashiach to come here in our lifetime. Rabbi Akiva was already doing that. Because Rabbi Akiva was already saying that Bar Kochva was Mashiach, and he'd rise from Psukim, the Mashiach would come in his days. And there of Nosnu, the next generation rise, that no, the Mashiach will come in my days. And every generation, everyone brings rise from Psukim, the Mashiach is coming in our days. Shnei alofim.
See, that's the thing you shouldn't do.
Yeah. So it depends. If you do it with conviction, it's not a problem. But if you say it's possible, then it's not a problem. Because the person says, how can you do it? It's against the Gemara. It depends how you say it. If you say for sure Mashiach's going to come, like Moshe Sharf, you get a problem. If you think it's possible that it'll come, then not. At that point, Mashiach could come, and the Galus will end. Unfortunately, we're almost pushing 6,000 years, and Mashiach hasn't come yet. Unfortunately, that we did
Every generation, Yosy says we want Mashiach now. That's what it
right.
comes down to, right?
That's right. I was having a lot of fun with Rabbi Goldstein last night. Now we have many Averis. Yotzu mehem ma'asher yotzu. And look how many years have already passed, and Mashiach has not come yet. So Mashiach was ripe to come since the year 4000, and look how many years passed, and our Averis prevented it. Gewaltig. Amar le Elio le Rabbi Yehuda. Elio met Rabbi Yehuda. Then there was routine. Today, you get in the world, we'll talk about it. Like Gil Elio. But Elio was talking to Rabbi Yehuda. Achua de Rav Salah, the brother of Rav Salah Chasida. And he said, Eina oidom, hachus mishmoinim v'chamisha yoivles. The world would have to be at least 85 yoivles. What is 85 times 50? So Rashi says it's 4,250 years. So the world would have to be 4,250 years. Right? Of Yovel Achroin, and in the last Yovel, meaning it's 4,250 years, in the last 50 years, Ben David Ba. That's when Mashiach is going to come. Omer Lei, so Rabbi Yehuda asked Elio, can you clarify what you meant? At the beginning of those 50 years is when Mashiach is going to come, or at the end? Omer Lei, so Elio answered, I don't know. And that's because it's totally a lot of Narshchusim. Kala ayena kala. Now, if you don't know, does the maybe it's at the complete end of the 50th Golus. So maybe it's only at the end. So for sure not a middle, right? Amar lei, and you there? He says, I still don't know. Rav Ashi Amar, Pachi Amar lei. This is what he asked him. At hacha loy tistechilei. Until that time, until the Yovel Achroin, he's not coming. It's not this man from Mashiach. Mikan ve'elech tistechilei. Once you're at the last Yovel, so I guess at the 4,200 mark, then you could start hoping for Mashiach. Then it's roy that he can start coming. And like we said, we can say Yotzu me Mashiach. Shalach le'Rab Chanun bar Tachlifa le'Rab Yosy. Matzasi Adam. I found a person. Actually, I want to stop for a second because I saw so many nice things in Rabbi Victor Miller's book. So he writes that in the Chronicles of Bavel, they have history books. Bavel recorded what happened. There's no record. There was no record of the fact that Sanhedrin was murdered by his own children. And we know he was. And then he says, but recently they dug up in Bavel some type of tablet where it actually said that's what happened. So she's trying to show how the Gemara is emes, and it takes the Goyim a little longer to discover that. Then he said over up to Chiddush, and he says, another Yid says it's Chiddush, but I don't even want to give him the honor of mentioning his name. So I don't know who he was quoting from. So to Gemara, this is why I thought of a tablet, because I encountered somebody who had an old scroll, Suva Ashuris. It was written in the Ashuris print, which is the print that we're reading from right now, the Lashon Kodesh, and the language was Lashon Kodesh. Amarti loy zu minaylach. Where did you get the scroll from? Amar li l'chayaloi shel Rami niskarti. I actually was a mercenary. I was a paid soldier. I worked for the Roman army. Rashi uses the word Shaishi Guliar le'echad. I don't know what the word Guliar means. I assume it means he was a paid hand to service them. But Rashi used the word Lashon of Guliar. Gimel Vav Lamed Yud Yud Reish. So I'm not sure what that position is. Uven Ginzei Raimi Motzasiya. And I guess he had access to the storehouses of Rome, and he found this scroll there. The Chosavah, and it said there, La'acher dalar alofim umasayim v'tishim ve'echad shana l'birusay shaloylam. So not 4250 like Elio said. He said 4,291. We have to look at the gra over here, because the gra changes something. V'tishim nimchep, v'nun beis shloishim. So he says it shouldn't say 90, it should say 30. So after 4,230 years, you see the gra. L'birusa shaloylam yitoim. The world is going to come to an end. Mehen milchamois taninim. They will be milchamois of big fish, which Rabbi Miller touched as great nations, or nations that have big navies. Mehen milchamois Gog uMagog. In these years, there'll be milchamois Gog uMagog. Bashar Yemois HaMashiach, and the rest will be Moshe Mashiach. So Rashi is then Shekala Hashibud uMashiach. The Shibud Goliath will go away. We're not going to be under the thumb of the Goyim anymore. Mashiach will come. The Eina Kadosh Baruch Hu Machadesh Esei Lamoy, but to have the new Olam Haba, liver Olam Chadosh, that's not going to come in the 4,000 years. That's going to come Elul Achar Shivas Alofim Shana. That's going to happen after 7,000. After 5,000 years, Itmar is what was said. Now we know that didn't happen because we're here after 5,000 years. Tanya Rabbanos Noimer, Mikrazeh Noikev v'Yorid Atoy. This pasuk, it is an unlimited way to understand it. As Rashi's Matahoim Ein Lekates v'Seif, Ki Einodim Yochal Lamed Al Seif pasuk Zeh. Nobody could have a true, full understanding of what this pasuk is saying. It says Ki Oid Chazoin Lemoyed. There's still going to be a nevuah about the time of the Kates. Yipak l'chates, and there'll be a nevuah about the Kates. Well, lo yechazin, the Navi not lying, there's going to be a Kates. Im yismameya, even if the Mashiach, the Gula, doesn't come, where the nevuah said it would be, chakaloi, wait for it. Kivoy yavoy, kivoy yavoy, voy yavoy, lo yacher. You know that thing? Kivoy yavoy lo yacher, avada the Gula will come, and it won't be late. So this is a very hard pasuk to understand, and all the different rabbonim partaged it. And if you look into the art scroll, he says they all partaged it that it should mean that the Gula is going to happen in their days. So don't touch it. Rabban says don't touch it. Kirabay Seinu, show you darshan ad idon idnin upolagidon. Ad idon idnin upolagidon. Rashi tell us means idon ki idon hagolosh on Mitzrayim. So the goals of Mitzrayim was 400 years, right? So idon idnin 400 plus 2 times 400 is 8 and 400. So 800 and 400 is 1200. Palag idon is 200. So at 1400, and then so Beis Idon is Ches Me'os, Hanu Yud Beis Me'os. Well, Palag Idon is Beis Me'os, Sachagol Elef Adal Me'os. So Mashiach is going to come after 1400 years. It's definitely not that, because we're way past there. Even in the Gemara, they were way past there, right? And you look up, that's right. Veloy Rab Samloi, and it's not like Rab Samloi who darshan it. So you darshan Hachaltam Lechem Dima. They ate bread of tears, but Hashkemoy, and they drank B'dmoy Shalish. B'dmoy Shalish means with the tears, we're darshaning the tears of a third. What does the tears of a third mean? Koloimer Hashke Yosy Makadosh Baruch Hu. Kadosh Baruch Hu gave him to drink Bein Golus Mitzrayim LeGolus Bavel Shalish Golus Edom. Now we don't know how long Golus Edom is, but we have a siman that it's 3 times the amount of the 2 Golios that we had until now, which was Golus Mitzrayim and Golus Bavel. Kikates Golus Edom Zeh our Golus, which is Golus Edom, Yeh L'Soit Gimel Pa'amim Ches Shonim. I mean, 12 Shonim. So the Golus of the tribe was 400 years. So 400 times 3 is 1200. And Gimel Pa'amim Ein Shar, which is the 70 years of Golus Bavel, which is 210. So 900 plus 210, right, is 1110. So 1200 plus 210 is 1410, right? Shon the connected Galus Bubble, the Hanul B'Soif, Elef, V'Arba Meyers, V'Esher Shon. So this, the Gra takes out, and the article says this is a Gillian, is Kfar Avru V'Hoya. This passed already, and it didn't happen. Now,
Takes that out.
so it's not, Rashi didn't say that. It's a Gillian. Now, 1410 happened already in Rashi's days. So Rashi could have written it, right? Rashi lived,
No, he lived in.
you're talking about the Goyish date. I'm talking about since Bria Soilam.
Yeah.
Since Bria Soilam, Rashi is in the fifth century, in the 5,000, right?
Yeah.
But there's other pshatim we're going to learn that continue past Rashi's time. So that's why Rashi couldn't have said Kfar Havur on the other pshatim here. Okay? Kach Matzosi Kosav B'Shem Rabbi Shmuel Bar David. That this happened already. Okay. Zog to Gemara. So it doesn't mean 1410. Okay. And so Edom was how much? Was 1400. Now Reb Samoy is 1410, right?
Yeah.
But Loik Reb Akiva. And here's where the Achronim will learn that this Rabbi Akiva was saying that it was going to happen in his days because he thought that Bar Kochva would be Mashiach. So Yedorish Oid Achas Ma'ati. Your Bar Shalom is saying in Kagai, there's just going to be one little burst of glory that Klal Yisrael will have, and then I will shake up and destroy the whole world, and then Mashiach will come. Now, Mashiach didn't come in Rabbi Akiva's days, so the way Rabbi Akiva darshan this pasuk was, and let's read this in Rashi. When Klal Yisrael came out of Golus Bavel, the Yibana Beis Hamikdash, and the Beis Hamikdash was built. So the Hainu Oid Achas Ma'at He, meaning Ma'at Kavod Etem Lahem Yisrael. I'm going to give a little kavod. So we're talking about going into the second Beis Hamikdash. I'm going to give Klal a little bit of kavod. I'm going to shake up the world, and then I'm going to take everything that the Goyim have and bring it to Yerushalayim, meaning we're going to have the Geula. So Rabbi Akiva Rabbi Akiva understood that this pasuk was referring to Moshe Mashiach. So Rabbi Akiva learned that this whole story that Oidachas Mati means after Churban Bayesheni, there's going to be a little time of glory where the Jews will have some power. And then I'm going to bring down the whole show, and then there'll be the Gula, which is right smack when Rabbi Akiva lived. He lived around the time of Churban Bayis Sheni. V'hachi darshlei, v'oid achas ma'ati, ma'at kavod eden liyisrael, v'yechach yavai hamashiach. So Zok Reb Nosson, that this is not pshat, right? He wants to say not like they all say. Reb Nosson v'dorashes u'enoi elakra alafnei abayis. The pasuk is not talking about after Churban Bayis Sheni. There's going to be a little glory and then Mashiach will come. Rather, the pasuk was said before Bayesheni. This is what the pasuk means. I'm going to give you a little cover, meaning I'm going to give you the second Beis Hamikdash. At the beginning of Bayis Achron, you're going to have some control because the Beis Chashmonai will be in charge. But most of the period of Bayesheni, we were under the control of the Goyim. That's how it was. So Reb Nosson is saying Rabbi Akiva is wrong. We're already past that time because Reb Nosson was past the time of Rabbi Akiva, and the Mashiach didn't come when Rabbi Akiva said it would. The Malchus Rishona Shal Malchus Hashmonoi Niskai Mashiv Mishon. It lasted 70 years. The Afagav Rabbi said the oil of the Malchus Hashmonoi was Mei B'Shalosh, and Malchus Hordes was Mei B'Shalosh. Ikuk Kvodim U'Pe'eram. Their glory years were only 70 years. And then Malchus Shnia, the second Malchus of Hordes was 52 years. And then with the Malchus ben Kuziva was 2.5 years. And that was the whole time we're eating at a little bit of glory. It's considered even Hordes' rules a little bit of glory. And after that, they were not in charge anymore. So that was a little bit of glory that we're talking about. Okay, Gewaltig. Zog to Gemara about. Let's do the rest of the Rashi. The reason why I want to list the Rashi is because I don't understand it, and maybe you'll be able to explain it. Moyer Rebbe. This is a Rashi quote from his Rebbe. V'chalhanach drushes lav Mishnah v'lav Brisa. All of these drushes are not Mishnah or Brises. They're what these people are saying. I mean, they're Tanoim, but it's not an official Brisa. Lishna Achrina, oid achas ma'ati ma'at malchus etenem liyisrael la'achar. So it's not little glory. It's a little malchus I'll give them after the Churban, which is Rabbi Kiva's approach, right? Rabbi Kiva's approach was that this passage was referring to after the Churban. So the only distinction I see between this lashon and the Friedrich lashon is last time the lashon said, "I'm going to give you some glory." The lashon was ma'at kavod etin lahem, and now it's ma'at malchus etin lahem. That's the only distinction that I see. The ain't drasha to klum. This drasha doesn't make any sense. In other words, Rab Nosson said that this drasha must be wrong. There were many malchus l'Yisrael. Mashiach didn't come. So I don't understand the dates over here. Was Shivim Shana. The first malchus that Klal Yisrael had after the Churban was 70 years. I thought the Chashmonaim were malachim during the second Beis Hamikdash. Now it's saying that there was a malchus Yisrael for 70 years after the Churban.
This is the same as the Rashi said before, no?
No.
The Malchus Rishonish, the Malchus Chashmonaim, the sky was Shivim Shana.
But it doesn't say that it was after the Churban.
Oh, that's what you're saying.
Yes, this is what I'm saying. It wasn't after the Beis Chashmonai for 70 years was not after the Churban, before the Churban. It was during the period of second Beis Hamikdash. It wasn't after the Churban. That's why I'm confused. Hordes was Nun Beis, Ben Kasiva was Beis Umechza. During this time, the Beis Hamikdash was standing. No, could be no. By Koich was after the Churban. By Koich was after the Churban. But Hordes was during was when the Beis Hamikdash was standing. So I'm a little confused. And now we have a new set. Mi pulmis shall Ispasianus at pulmis of Titus from the rulership of Aspasianus till Titus was Shtei Meser Shana. So that's before the Churban, because Titus made Churban the Beis Hamikdash. So we after the Churban, before the Churban, I'm very confused. When pulmis shall Titus at Malchus ben Kusiva was Yud Zayin Shana. So Titus ruled during the Beis Hamikdash. He was Machav of the Beis Hamikdash, and after 17 years of Titus being in charge, that's when there was the Bar Kochva revolt. When Malchus Beis Kaziva was Beis Shadim Umechza. So these last kings here were towards the end of the Malchus. So it seems like there was a great gap between the Malchus of Hordos and the Malchus of Ben Kazuva, because in between you had Spasianus and Titus, right, who were Chorv Beis and then Bar Kaziva came in. So there's a big gap there in between Hordos' Malchus and Aspianus. There's a big gap there. You know what I'm saying? Because they only have 17 years here. So I'm not sure about I'm not sure exactly about the dates, but the gist we have is that Rabbi Kiva held that the pasuk was speaking about a period after the Churban Bayis, that for a short while, when Malchus and then Hashem will shake up the world and bring the Geula. And Rabbi Nosson said it's impossible that that's pshat because Mashiach hasn't come in this period of time, so it must mean that I'm going to give you some glory during the second Beis Hamikdash, and then we're going to be shooken up for a very long time. Okay, so what is pshat? Ella. Now Rabbi Nosson saying what is pshat? Ella Malchus Rishon Shivim Shana, which is the Malchus of the Beis Chashmonai. Malchus Shnia is Chamisha Mishtayim, which was Hordes. Umalchus ben Kaziva was Shtei Shanim Umechza. So I'm not sure how this fits into what we're saying. What it means is all these are after the Churban Bayis, but they weren't after the Churban Bayis, because the first two things here. So I just think it's listing off the Malchus Yisrael. It's just listing off the case. So the three Malchus that were there, two were the beginning of the second Beis Hamikdash, and one was after the second Beis Hamikdash. And that's what it's referring to. It's speaking of the Malchus ben Kaziva, which would be a little time of glory after the second Beis Hamikdash. I'm sorry, that's not how Rabbi Yana learned. Rabbi Nosson learned for Keret that what it means is for Keret. What it means is the Shuv. I'm going to. It's going on the second Beis Hamikdash. I'm going to give you a little bit of Jewish rule. And then for the rest of the period of the second Beis Hamikdash, you're not going to have any control over Eretz Yisrael. That's what it means. That's how Reb Nosson learns it. Okay. Gewaltig. Now Reb Nosson goes weiter. My vayipach lachetz v'lo yikas. He's going to be misnabe about the kates, and it's not going to be a lie. Omar Rab Shmuel bar Nachmeni Omar Rab Yonason tipach atzmon shel machshavei kitzin. The bones of the people who calculate when Mashiach is coming, they should be crushed. You know why they mess things up? So you oimim, since they're so sure that their date is accurate, what's going to happen? Now they'll say that the thing's wrong. So vayipach l'kates means people who talk about the gates could be crushed, which is not part of shot, right? Don't make so many cheshbonis. You just always believe in Mashiach and wait for Mashiach. Shenemar im yishameya chai kaloi ki boya boy lo yacher. Shema toimer onu mechaken who einu mechaken. You might say that we might look for Mashiach, but we passed the date. We're not having Mashiach. The Rebbeinu Shalom is not planning to bring Mashiach anymore. Hashem is still looking to do good for us, and Hashem is still going to raise his rachmanis. If everybody wants Mashiach, so why isn't Mashiach here? Mi makim. Dr. Gemara, midis hadin makeves. Fragt Gemara, b'chimei achar shemidis hadin makeves. If midis hadin makeves, so vater anu lamu machaken. Let's go back around again. Dr. Gemara, lekabel soch. We have to constantly look towards Mashiach to be makabel schar, and there's different shot in what this means. Is it schar because we're believing in Mashiach? Could be the schar is that we're constantly hoping for Mashiach and we suffer disappointment after disappointment. He doesn't come then, it doesn't come then, right? All the days that we thought maybe he can come, he doesn't come. That schar that we have gives us schar. Never ashrei kol choy cheloi. Blessed, lucky is the one who's looking and hoping towards Mashiach. So you see, you're supposed to hope towards Mashiach, but not make dates for it. Amar Abaye.
So Yosy, it's not unlike a repairman who keeps promising that he's going to come. I'll come Tuesday at 3:00. I'll come Tuesday at 5:00 and 8:00. He's not committed really to a date. We're making up dates when he should be coming. So why would we develop disappointment? Disappointment is when we're promised a certain date and then that date doesn't show up. All these dates are fabricated.
These people bring a riot from a novi, from a pasuk that Mashiach is coming on this date, and then if he doesn't come, we're going to be disappointed.
Yeah, but you created that date. That wasn't the date. You thought that was shot in that date.
No, you don't think you created. You think you were able to understand from the Torah what the Torah created.
Right.
No one fabricates it on his own. Every time Moshe Sharf says Mashiach is going to come, he has a right from this saver, from that saver. He doesn't make it up on his own.
No, but it fits his narrative, right? That's what I mean. Yes.
So you're telling me a person is biased with how he learns the pshat in the pasuk.
Correct, of course.
It's exactly true, because Rabbi Kiva learned it would be his time and it wasn't. But really what it means is these were all target dates when Mashiach could have come, but didn't because we didn't do tshuva.
Right.
These were all days that he could have come. So
I'm just saying
dates were all potential dates, just like in the time of Chizkiah. Those are potential dates.
So what's the difference? If we believe Mashiach can come today, do you believe Mashiach can come today? So do I need a cheshbon? I could find a cheshbon for today.
And that's exactly what you're supposed to have. When it says the mitzvah of tzipis Yeshua is exactly what you said. Emunah pshuta, he's going to come. But to start figuring out when he's going to come, that's already dangerous territory.
Okay, so I shouldn't say, even though he's going to come today, I'd prefer if he comes between 2 and 3 because I don't have appointments.
I hear.
Right.
Okay, gewaltig. Amar Abaye. Loi pochus alma bitlosin v'shisa tzadikei the mekabel apeshchina b'chol dor. There's at least lamed vav tzadikim that are mekabel pnei shchina navidor. Shenemar ashrei kol choichei loi. Fortunate is the one who looks towards Hashem. Loi lamed vav is begematria plosin v'shita. In fact, what any is that so? The Amar Rava. Dora the Kamei Kudsha Barichu, who Tam Nisrei Alfe, there's 18,000 tzaddikim in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not a measly 36. Havoi, you take out the word parsha. Shenemar Soviv Shmoina Osar Elef. There's 18,000 tzaddikim around the Shem. Zaktamor, there's different levels of tzaddikim. There's only 36 who sees HaKadosh Baruch Hu with clarity. They're looking to a curtain that's somewhat opaque, they can't see it clearly. And that is 18,000 people. Are there even 18 people who see Bas Blaklaya Ha'me'ira? But there's so few. Im Elafim, then Aniyu Banai Mehem. Me and my sons are from that group. Im Me'ahim, if there's only 100, Aniyu Banai Mehem. Im Shnayim, if there's only 2, Aniyu Banai, we are them. Aniyu Banai Hem. So Zok to Gemara, you're right. They're very few. But Loi Kasha, how the Aili Bibar, there are those who can walk in on Hashem whenever they want. They're Heimish there. That's less than 18. How the Aili Beloy Bar. Zokt Rashi. Rashi explains, how the Aili Bibar, Shetzrich and Litoil, Rishus, Kishin Osim, Listakel Bas Plakvar Yir. Even when they go in to see Das Plakvar Yira, even though they can see it, but they have to ask for shus. But Hani Loi Pchisi Mitlosim Vishus. There's at least 36. Avol Oizadich Nosin Beloy Rishus. Right Sitkam. They're like any Balabatim, they're Heimish, they can walk in and out of the inner chamber. Hanu Misafkalod Kamab. That he wasn't sure how many there were. Okay. Zog to Gemara Vait. There could have been even more actually. Amarav. Kolu Kolakitin. This is what Rabbi Goldstein quoted last night. All the Keaton, all the dates, the possible dates, they all passed. And now, there's no more time, Misugel. Anytime. Up until now, there were certain target dates. There's no target dates. Now it's an open field. We can bring Mashiach now with Tshuva. There's no more optimal dates where he's going to come. Any moment he can come. It's all totally in Tshuva as a Rashi. Im kol Yisrael chayzim b'tshuva yavoi v'mavol yavoi. There's no more dates attempts. It's all totally in us. Umaysim tshuva umaysim time. Ushmul Amar dayoi la'avol sheyamoid be'evloi. It's enough that the avol should stand in the avelos. And what does that mean? So Rashi explains dayoi la'kadosh baruch hu. This is the one shot. Dayoi la'kadosh baruch hu she'oimed kam yomim v'yomeinu ocher. Kloimar im lo yasu tshuva. We won't do tshuva. So what Shmuel was saying is, don't say that Mashiach won't come ever if we don't do tshuva. Avada, there is still a case where Mashiach is going to come, whether or not we do tshuva. So Rav said it's all told in tshuva. If we never do tshuva, it's possible Mashiach will never come. Shmuel said no. There's a limit to how long HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to sit in Golos. And therefore, afilu below tshuva negalim. Now we know that. Are you telling me that according to Rav, it's possible Mashiach will never come? I mean, we have Nevi'im, we have Psukim that talk about the Gula Sida, the third base of Mikdash. So Mashal explains it. I'll let everyone tumult about this. That everybody holds you need tshuva. The question is, how is tshuva going to come? Shmuel says, even if we don't do tshuva, Mashiach's going to come, and then we'll do tshuva. Rav learns that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to make it so difficult for us that it's going to be a forced tshuva. It's going to be Shmuel says, it'll be a natural tshuva, it'll come after the Geula. Rav says, Hashem is going to force us to do tshuva. But Avada, everybody agrees for sure Mashiach is going. Kitanoi, Rabbi Lezer Omer, Im Yisrael Oisin Tshuva Nigalin. The Mlav Ein Nigalin. Amar Rabbi Shua, Im Ein Oisin Tshuva Ein Nigalin. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Ma'amid Lahem Melech Shegzeiros of Koshois Kahaman. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will bring a nasty king that'll torture us. And then the Yisrael Oisin Tshuva Umachzir Elamuta. Tanya Idach. Rabbi Lezer Omer, Im Yisrael Oisin Tshuva Nigalin. Shenemar Shuvu Bonim Shoivavim. And then Arpa Mishuvay Seichem, I will then heal you up, I will bring you back. Amalai Rabbi Yeshua, Valek Fainemar, Chinam Nimkartem, you were sold for free, Valoy Becheset Tegalu, meaning Chinam Nimkartem, Avoid Chovim, you sold yourself to Avoid Zer, you were a cheap date, Valoy Becheset Tegalu, Loy Bechuva Maisim Toivim. You won't need Chuva Maisim Toivim to be Nigal. Similar to Shmuel, that we're going to have Gula even without Chuva. Amar b'lashon b'shua, I v'aloik fa'nemer shuvu elai v'shuva aleichem. It says there will be tshuva. So now we're going to put them back and forth whether we need tshuva or if the gula is going to come without tshuva. Amar b'shua v'aloik fa'nemer kenoichi ba'alti b'chem v'lakachti eschem echad me'ir shnayim mishpacha. I'm going to pull you back no matter what, even without tshuva. Amar b'lozer v'aloik fa'nemer b'shuva v'nachas tivosheim. Amar b'shua b'lozer v'aloik fa'nemer koyma Hashem goyal Yisrael l'kdoishay Leviz nefesh, lemisav goy, la'aved moishlim. I should really read it inside so I don't butcher the pasuk. Koyam Hashem goyel Yisrael kedoshai, levazoi nefesh, lemisav goy, la'aved moishlim. We're going to be an eved to the bad rulers. Malachim yiru v'kamu zarim v'yishtachvu l'man Hashem asher nemen kedoshav v'yivcharecha. Meaning, we're going to be down in the dumps, and the Kodesh Baruch Hu is going to come at us with or without tshuva. Melachim yoru v'kamu sorm v'shtachvu. The melachim are going to come and bow down to Hashem. Meaning, without our tshuva, this is going to happen. Amar b'Elazar, what do you mean? Like v'nemer tashav Yisrael nu Hashem elai tashav. Amar b'Shua like v'nemer v'eshma sa'ish lavush abadim Hashem imal l'meimei hayar. I'm going to see the ish whose lavush abadim is wearing white, who's hovering over the Meimei, the Yoram Yemina Yusmail Shemayim, which is a Lashon Shvua, but Yishba Bechai Oilim is going to swear on the world, Kilamoyad Mayadim Bechati, which means at a certain designated time, Uchalois Nofetz Yad Am Kadosh Techlena. Kol Eila. It's a Shvua that no matter what, at a certain time, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to take us out of Golos. That's right. The Shasuk Rabbi Eliezer. At the end, Rabbi Eliezer was moida that even without tshuva, we're going to have a geula, which is how we learned that 6,000 is coming no matter what. But avada, Hashem is going to prompt us to do tshuva. There's no place more, as Rashi says, Eretz Yisrael period ben Yofa ozu karva case. When Klal Yisrael, when Eretz Yisrael is going to start producing Shemaka payers, that's a very reliable sign that Mashiach is coming. You can't have any more of an obvious sign that Mashiach is coming. Yisrael, anafchem titu uperechem, and your payers tisu la'ama Yisrael. We have another pasuk. Shnemar ki lifnei hayom mahem schar adam lo'niya. We won't. Rashi says the kishatir the ain't shum adam mistaka. Nobody's making money, and the mischar behemoinena, and no one's even going to rent animals, which Rashi is referring to achetichla prutim and akis. Nobody's going to have any money, so you won't be able to hire any animals or hire any people to work on your farm. No one is going to get free from this tsar. That's what Mashiach is going to come. Even Talmid Chachamim, where the Torah used the word shalom to describe them, even them at the end ain't shalom and tsar. Meaning everything is going to be so cheap. Everything is going to be so cheap, and therefore it's our school. Rashi Shavin Shar Tfu V'Yayin Revacha Kedamin Chamisha said it'll be. We said look during the 5th year before Mashiach comes, right? There'll be a Soiv Gadol. There'll be so much that everything will be worth very little. Or another pshat is exactly the opposite. There'll be terrible inflation. So when one of those two things happen, then that's a siman muvak that Mashiach is getting close. Listen, we have beautiful payers and we also have crazy inflation. We have both pshatim and Rashi happening. So you never know.
Yosy, so we're guilty of doing the same things. We're looking for signs and pointing. Oh, Mashiach's coming. Mashiach's coming.
So the Lamaisa, we always have these simanim. So the Achronim say that if you say this is a time where Mashiach could come, that's no problem. But if you say Mashiach is for sure coming now, that's the problem. Because the whole problem is when that date passes and we suffer the disappointment it didn't come, it could lead to a virfian. But if you're only saying it's a time where he could come, but not that he will come, so then it won't be a problem.
Okay, so let's spin it in the Geneva mode. If you say Mashiach could come, Taka
Oh, by
could
the
come.
way,
If you could
find
say
the
so.
tablet, you can pull this tablet to sell next year, the tablet that says when Mashiach's coming.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. But if you say Mashiach has to come, then you know that it's so deeply in debt that that's the only way out, as the Satmar Rebbe discovered, right? Oy, Mashiach darf kommen, Mashiach darf kommen schon.
Right, but that's exactly what we learned until we're Miyayish, until we hit rock bottom and say Mashiach Dashan Kimin, Mashiach won't come.
So are all these terrible things that happen, these triggers for us to do tshuva, to make the Mashiach come, you're gonna come anyway.
It depends if you hold like Rabbi Shmuel.
Yeah.
Okay, gewaltig. Okay, shkoyach. Everyone should have an awesome day.
Shkoyach, Yossi, thank you.
Akiva, what's the name of today's year?
Oh, this is the end.